Welcome back to the Bluechip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull. In today's video, we have a lot of things to cover. We're going to talk about basketball. Our men's team will be playing in the SEC tournament versus Mississippi State today at 1 p.m. I said yesterday it was at 7, but that's what time our baseball team is going to be playing Alabama. So I got that mixed up, and I apologize for that. We'll also be talking about football. We've got a few notes to cover there. And finally, we'll be talking about this new 14-team playoff expansion that is expected to be made official at some point today. A lot of interesting notes right there. I'm going to kind of unpack what I see from all of that. But before we get into it, do us a really big favor, like and subscribe to the channel. All right, so like we just talked about, our men's team will be playing in the SEC tournament versus Mississippi State today. That's the matchup that I wanted personally because that could potentially be a quad one victory for us, and it could help us be able to retain that 1 seed. Now, this is ESPN's bracketology, and this was just released today. A couple of interesting things right here. Number one, we see that North Carolina took our spot as the 1 seed in the West, and we are the 2 seed in the South right here, okay? So we will be on the same side of the bracket with Houston. I like that side, okay? There's no teams that really scare me over there. Creighton, I don't know how you say that school's name, but I've heard some things about them being a really good team and being a dangerous team. So maybe we don't want to be over there, but we'll talk a little bit more about why I think Tennessee's going to end up getting that number 1 spot back. And it starts off with this right here. We see that Mississippi State has moved up to the 10th spot in the East region. So that's going to be really big for us if we can come out and get a big victory today. And we'll continue to kind of scroll through and see everything else that they have on bracketology. We're seeing that the Big 12 is projected to have 9 teams, and the SEC at this point has 8. And all the way down here at the ACC, they've still only got 4 teams that could potentially make it into the tournament. And, I just think that bodes very well for Tennessee's chances to earn that number 1 spot. And we are going to go ahead and pull up the ACC's bracket. All right, so let's scroll through here and see what they got going on. We have to take a look at a few things that I think are very important to our Volunteers. And the first thing is going to be right here, okay? So North Carolina beat Florida State 92-67 last night. That is the reason that they are pushed up to that 1 spot because Tennessee hasn't played yet. But Florida State is not a tournament team by any means, so that's not a big victory. And we also see that Duke lost. That's really big because Duke would have been a really big win for North Carolina to get. And also North Carolina, as far as I'm concerned, is being considered as a 1 seed, just like Tennessee, because of the way that they were able to beat Duke. But now that Duke just lost to NC State, maybe that win doesn't look as strong. We'll see how everyone, how the bracket makers look at that. But let's continue on down, okay? North Carolina will be playing up against Pitt today at 7 p.m. And to my knowledge, okay, as far as I know, the only team that is a potential tournament team right here is Virginia. And they were a bubble team. Maybe they've been kind of upgraded, but North Carolina wouldn't be seeing them, until at least the next game. So I think that things are looking very good for our Volunteers because we're getting a quad 1 team off the rip in Mississippi State. And I think that's a team that we can most definitely handle. So if we win that game today, I love our chances to be able to get back at that 1 seed. And then, if we go on to beat Auburn, to me, we definitely have it. Now, I've also heard a couple of, analysts saying that whoever goes further out of Tennessee and North Carolina in their conference tournaments will end up getting that 1 seed. But again, whenever you look at the competition, the quality of the competition that each team is going to be facing, Tennessee's quality of competition is a lot higher. Our strength of schedule, as far as who we have heading into the tournament, is a lot stronger than what North Carolina is going to be seeing. Now, North Carolina did beat us head-to-head earlier in the season, but again, man, I really like our chances. We just have to come out, handle business, and I fully expect for us to do that. And I'm not really too much, I guess, necessarily worried about getting that 1 seed. Obviously, that would be great, but I just want to see our guys come out and play with a lot of confidence, shoot the open shots, hit the open shots. I want to see that we get really hot. That would be huge. If we can come out and if we can shoot somewhere around 45% from the field, I love our chances heading into the tournament, and it doesn't matter where we get matched up at. All right, now on to football. We got some big news that George McIntyre, that's our 5-star quarterback commit in the 2025 class, will be on campus this weekend, and he's bringing somebody very special with him. Jamie French, who is a 5-star wide receiver from Jacksonville, Florida, listed at 6'1", 185 pounds. He's the number 3 wide receiver in the entire country, the number 16 player in the entire country. And he's a guy that has been high on Tennessee for a long time. He's very high up on our big board as far as prospects that we want to close out on. Now, if you look over here to the right, you're seeing Steve Wiltfong and Tom Loy have crystal balled Jamie French to go to the Ohio State Buckeyes. And I'll be honest with y'all, man, just from reading a lot of his comments, that's where I think he's going to end up at as well. But you just never know with these young high school players. He was committed to Alabama before, he's since opened things back up. And like we said, Ohio State's the favorites right now. That wide receiver room is loaded. He just came off of a visit from LSU, and I think that he's going to visit LSU again. I believe this will be his first time up in Knoxville. Now, he has been high on Tennessee for a long time, and he's very high on Tennessee's board. He's one of the guys that I know Coach Heupel and everyone else really wants to close out on him, Coach Pope, all those guys. I hope that we can do it. Maybe it could be a situation where he looks at Ohio State's wide receiver room and says, it's kind of deep over there. They do a great job of putting wide receivers into the league, but maybe he looks at Tennessee's room and says, well, it's deep, but maybe the tier of talent isn't as high end as what he could be seeing up at Ohio State or even at LSU. I think LSU is another room that's quietly loaded, and they do a really good job of putting players in the league as well. They've got 2 guys that are going to be potential first rounders this season. So Tennessee just has to do a better job of putting players into the league, especially at wide receiver, but really everywhere. That's what these young players are really going to be looking for. So hopefully we can make a great impression on Jamie French. I think that he could bring a lot to this team moving forward. And as we do put more players in the league, we'll see a lot of these guys will start to close out on Tennessee. I think that Josh Heupel just does a great job with these young guys. I mean, he's very likable, and he's very personable. And obviously, you have to love this type of an offense where we're going to spread it out, and wide receivers are going to get a whole lot of man-to-man coverage, and you can put up some monster numbers like we saw Jalen Hyatt do. We just have to kind of replicate that, maybe I would say a few more times over the next couple of seasons, and we'll start to go back to wide receiver U. All right, and some more big news. James Pierce is on the top of the board by PFF as the best returning pass rusher in 2024. And I mean, we pretty much all knew this. We talked about this a lot, but it should make everyone feel really good to know that James Pierce is the best pass rusher in the entire country. And I think we've got a lot of other guys that can help him out as well this season. Our pass rush, our defense in general should just be filthy. And I'm definitely looking forward to that. Now, we've also got Nick Scorton came in at number 2 from the Texas A&M Aggies. We've got Jack Sawyer from the Ohio State Buckeyes coming in at 3. Kamen Rucker from North Carolina is at 4. And we've got Ashton Gillette, I don't know if I'm saying his name right or not, from Louisville. Let's see who else we got to round out the top 10. Ruben Bain Jr. from Miami. I know he's a good one. I think he's a little bit low on this list. And we've got Princely. I don't even want to try to pronounce his name, but he's at Ole Miss. So, man, they're going to have a scary pass rush as well. I think Ole Miss is going to shock a few people. And then we've got JT, another difficult last name to pronounce. I'm not even going to attempt it, from Ohio State. Ohio State's loaded. We already know that. I think this is actually a really good list just to kind of see who has a good defense. Jordan Stewart from Michigan. I don't know how they still have people on this list. I think Michigan's going to take a big step back. And then Abdul Carter from Penn State to round out the top 10. All right, and like I was just touching on, as we're scrolling through that top 10 of pass rushers coming back for 2024, we've got a lot of other guys. I think that we can rotate pass rushers in waves. That Rabbits package is going to be crazy this season, especially because I'm anticipating that this team will put up so many points that whoever we're playing up against will have to play from behind a lot. And once you get them in that, we know that you have to pass it situation, we can pin our ears back and we can just have 4 or 5 pass rushers out there. We can blitz, we can draw things up. I think that's something that we do a really good job of on this defense. Obviously, Coach Garner's done a phenomenal job, but let me go ahead and give Tim Banks some credit as well. I like what he's trying to do with this defense. I love it. We're going to play man-to-man coverage. Okay, we're going to play good run defense, and we're also going to get after that quarterback. That's how championship defenses are built. And as much as we love talking about this offense and just offense in general across the board from all football fans, defense still wins championships. So I love the way that we're trending, and I just can't wait for Monday to see how everyone looks out there on the field. All right, now on to the last segment of the day. We're going to be talking about this 14-team playoff expansion for college football. We knew that this was coming. We've talked about this so many times. And the reason that I knew that this was coming is because we know that the SEC and the Big Ten are trying to start their own league. Well, they're not trying, that's what they're doing. And we're going to kind of get into that here in just a minute. But if you're starting your own league, especially paying players the whole deal, there's a lot of moving pieces to it. And what better model to follow than the NFL's model? So that's why I knew that just to start things off, we were going to see something very similar to what the NFL is doing, but I don't think it stops here. I think once they kind of get their feet wet and have a good plan in place and they've seen it working, they will expand because they're all about money. The more teams that you can bring into your league, the more money that you can demand, at these negotiation tables. But a couple of interesting things, right? So number one, the deal is going to be worth $1.3 billion, and the SEC and the Big Ten are going to be getting 58% of that. That's 29% to each conference. And it's been rumored, or some of the experts are saying that that's going to be about a $15 million increase to each institution within those conferences. That's big, and we'll talk more about why here in just a second. But the other interesting part to this is the first round buys that the SEC and the Big Ten wanted are now off the table. And it seems like they were kind of used as leverage to get more money out of this whole thing. And, I think that there's some truth to that. But I also think that the reason that they didn't push back is because they are, again, planning on separating from this whole deal anyway. Now, something else that I found very interesting is that there's a look-in clause for this contract for 2028 that can be accelerated based off of conference expansion. So okay, all of that what we just talked about, on top of the fact that Greg Sankey, when he's been recently asked about this 14-team playoff expansion, he said, hey, we're just glad that we got the whole money thing worked out. But, we're at 12 teams right now in the playoffs. So let's focus on that. I think that that's very telling. And everything that he's been saying has been very telling from where I'm sitting at. He's pretty much saying, hey, the 12-team playoff is what matters at this point, because this 14-team playoff is not going to include everyone that y'all think it's going to be including. And, the revenue structure as it's set up right now is going to look a lot different moving forward. So that's what I took from that. And again, man, I think that this is just all telling us that they are going to be breaking away a lot sooner than what people anticipate. That $15 million, okay, if you go back to that Project D1 that was proposed by Charlie Baker, where, they said, hey, you need $6 million to implement the highest level of this. 15 million is more than double that. So I think that they've got their money for the salaries in place and the money to kind of keep other, sports going at their programs. And I would say by 2026, the Big Ten and the SEC will be breaking away, and they'll be adding whoever they want to add. Obviously, there's a lot going on with the ACC right now. We know that Florida State, and I believe North Carolina, is in some sort of a legal battle, maybe even Miami. I know the Florida State is for sure, and it does sound like Florida State is kind of winning that battle at this point, so it could be over sooner rather than later. I don't know how all that's going to work out, but I do know this. The Big Ten and the SEC are breaking away, and this 14-team playoff, everything that we're talking about here, is going to be implemented some in their league, to some degree, to some extent. And what the rest of college football looks like, y'all's guess is as good as mine. But that's it for this video. I got to go ahead and get ready to watch our men's basketball team take down Mississippi State and hopefully, man, be able to finish strong in the SEC tournament and get that 1 seed, head on to the national championship at some point here coming up very shortly. But thank you as always for sticking all the way to the end. Please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.